welcome back to The Doctor Will See You Now. Huge thanks to those of you who are regular viewers or listeners to the Newcastle Noir YouTube channel. And if you stumbled across us by chance, I hope you have a very pleasant listening with us while we hear our aim is always to meet the author and to probe a little bit into the book that we'll be discussing, how it came about, where it sits in an author's body of work. So you are most welcome. Get yourself comfortable. Hope you've got a drink there, especially if you're watching this at the time of recording, where the heat is back on again. But settle back, because we're going to be chilled. Well, today's author, I'm wondering if some of you might recognize her in a different guise altogether, rather than a crime writer. It is a tremendous, tremendous pleasure to welcome Linda Regan into the consultation. Hi, Linda, how are you?
Hi, thank you so much for that lovely welcome. I'm very well. How are you?
I'm very, very good. And I'm so excited to talk to you because, as I say,
I talk to you.
I know we're here to discuss your crime writing, but if we could just make a little stop on the way and say, before being a crime writer, acting was your, and you know, and you are actress and crime writer. But I dearly remember that series that you were in, Heidi High, as the Yellowcoat April. And well, before we get into the book, let me ask you, being that character, what did it mean to you?
Well, I loved working on Heidi High. We came, I think people, the older people that are listening in might know, or if anybody who does remember it, well, it's also shown quite a lot still because, you know, all those old comedies are. But I loved it. I came in, I didn't come in at the beginning. I think I came in series 4, but it was massive when I came into the show. It was absolutely massive. It was playing to 20 million viewers. So you can imagine how nervous I was when I got the job. But the thing was, my father was a redcoat at Butlins. So
Yes.
as a child, I spent a lot of summer holidays down in on seaside resorts, and Daddy used to do the Punch and Judy on the beach, so I used to hand up the puppets because I was tiny and had tiny hands and everything, and he used to pay me in donkey rides. So I knew a little bit about holiday camps. I was able to talk my way in when I went for the audition. In fact, I originally auditioned for Hello Hello, and David Croft said, Linda, I'm really sorry, David Cropping, the producer and director, I'm having the French maids as brunettes, and I'm having the Germans are going to be blonde, but they're going to be very tall, and you're not. So I have no job for you, but I will remember you. And then of course he called me back when Heidi High was
beautiful
character. So I was able to talk about donkeys and Punch and Judy and knobbly knees. And I entered Heidi High with great trepidation. But I sort of knew some of them because of my father being a variety agent and all that. So, and they were just lovely, such a lovely bunch. We laughed all the time. And yeah, and I believe that kind of comradeship makes for great shows.
Without a doubt, without a doubt. But that last comment that you just made about comradeship, because being an author, well, when you are in production, you know, if you go to festivals or events, there's great spirit there of that community. But when you are in the process of creating, and we must say that it's 8 crime novels that you have under your belt. Yeah, so that's a beautiful body of work. Do you miss that kind of connection of the cast being the author?
And I know I enjoy my own space, and I sort of believe my characters are real, so I don't really feel I'm on my own.
Yeah.
But I love my characters. I've got, you know, a lot of them are regular characters in the police procedural I've been writing, and I love to see where they want to go in this book or the next book. And I don't actually feel alone, and I like that. And also, as an actor, you do spend time alone because you have to say, "Can you please leave me alone? I'm learning my lines." You know, so sometimes you just sit down for 3 hours in the evening and actually learn your lines if you're doing a play or something. So both sides of my job, the acting and the writing, has time alone and has time with people. And I enjoy I definitely enjoy working on my own. But that's not to say I would, you know, acting jobs come along, I adore working with people, and I've got obviously great mates in the business.
Yeah. So you know, the creative you in so many different ways. Do you sit back at the end of a play, a film, a series, a book? Are you happy with? Never. Tell us about this. What is this drive?
Well, I think a lot of actors have that, and certainly writers. The thing about being in the theatre, and the nice thing about being in the theatre, is you think, oh God, I miss that laugh. Oh dear, but I can get it right tomorrow. Now, when your book is out there, there's no going back. If you've made a mistake, you've made a mistake. So that is the sort of difference. However, in television, well, we used to work in television comedy. We used to always have an audience because we needed the laughter for the can. So we were encouraged not, you know, please don't make a mistake. Well, I mean, who's to say you will or you won't? But we were encouraged not to, because if you do the line the second time, the audience often have heard it and they don't laugh so much. So that's the difference. The difference with the book is terror. You know, and I'm not a great fan of my own work. I always think, oh my God, what have I done? And I'm always delighted to see, and I think, gosh, I've got good reviews. Wow. And you know, the same, it's always been the same in the theatre and everything. And people used to say to me, Judi Dench once said, don't read your reviews. But we do. We just do. We all do reviews.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I think that, you know, wanting to see or read, hear feedback is really important, because I think if whatever your creative craft might be, you want to either perform or produce something that people are going to enjoy. I think it's yeah, that you know, that
you want to entertain. I mean, I was born to entertain. That's what I do in life, whether it's through writing a book, telling a story, making people laugh, or, you know, making people cry. You know, I guess I was just born to kind of prod at your emotions.
Yeah, or make people fearful or nervous whilst they're reading your work, which, you know, thank you for that. Thank you for the evoking of those emotions, because that always makes for a wonderful crime fiction read. So the book that we are going to be discussing in more detail is The Burning Question, published in May 2022 by Headline Arson, and I say 8 novels now. You talked about acting and how if it's a play, well, you know, the following day you can maybe, but I wondered about the process of editing, Linda, because of course before we get the joy of turning those pages or listen to the audio or on the Kindle, you know, it's gone through some iteration before it reaches us. Are you good with edits? Do you enjoy the process?
I always know my editor's right. I love the fact you have a copy editor, because I worry about my spelling. I was expelled from school. I was expelled from a convent when I was 15 or 16.
Oh, Linda.
So I worry about my, you know, if I've made any spelling or where my commas should be. And the fact you have a copy editor is just like having a saint sitting on your shoulder. So that's my favorite bit of the editing process. I have a lovely editor. I've had him for a few books and he's just delightful.
Brilliant.
At the end of the day, it's your book. You say what you want. But have you thought, you know, maybe this, that, the other? But he's lovely. I have a great relationship with him.
That's beautiful, because I think, you know, that process of being able to discuss and yeah, because somebody sees something that maybe you haven't seen, or because you're so close into the story, into the text. So I'm glad it's not an unpleasant process, because for some authors it's like, oh, you know, when we get to that, you know, I'm not sure about it. But I love what you say, that you have that good working relationship with yours. It's great. Yeah.
Well, as an actor, you've always worked with directors, and directors, you know,
one for directors.
Of course. So
yeah.
For me, the editor is my director. He sees outside of the picture. We see inside the picture. He's looking at it from outside. So that's the sort of difference. And you know, they're always right.
Do you know, this is so exciting to talk that dual creative process and see the parallels and the differences. So this book, The Burning Question, is part of a series, and I wonder what led a wonderful actress like you into the murky world of crime fiction. When did that person who treads boards in front of the camera thought, do you know what, I'm going to give this crime fiction lark a go? Why? When did that happen?
I'd never meant it to happen. I've written all my life. I remember writing a poem when I was 4 called "The Cat Sat on the Mat, on the Mat the Cat Sat," and I thought that was brilliant. I might win a literary prize for that, but of course, so I've always written, and people used to say to me, "Oh, you know, if you go to a lecture at a writers' conference, write about what you know." So I mean, I've written hundreds of things before I was first published, but they're all dreadful, and they're all hopefully somewhere being eaten by mice in the attic. But I decided to write about pantomime because I've done so many. So I thought I'd write about pantomime. And as I got further into it, I realized I was killing people off. I thought it's something in my subconscious mind that, you know, I've worked with people that I would like, you know, to dispose of. A crime thriller. And I thought, God, this is so dreadful. And I threw it away because I've written so many dreadful things. I threw it away. And my husband, who's also an actor, he said, "Where's that? I loved your book behind you that you wrote. What are you going to do with it?" And I said, "It's in the dustbin over the road." And he said, "No, I'm going to go and get it." And he went and got it and sent it into a competition, a worldwide competition from an embryonic publisher called Creme de la Crime, and lo and behold, I won a publishing contract. That's how it started. And then they said, "Oh, it's a 2-book contract. You've got to write a second." There are crime publishers, so I then had to write another crime, and I had thought, I don't write crime. I wanted to write comedy. So you know, I grew up the daughter of a comic. I married a very well-known comedy actor. I've been surrounded by Heidi High. Anyway, I'm now a crime writer, but you know, everything comes from reality, and I think it's quite widely known because it was in the papers and everything. I had a terrible incident where I was kidnapped, and I think the fear of that has always driven me to want the baddies to get caught. Yeah. And that's what drives me on with, I think, with every crime novel I write. I think those baddies are going to get caught. And when you read papers and you think, you know, that this is a cold case, and they've got new evidence on somebody that was actually murdered, a series of women were murdered in Yorkshire, that's come up recently in the 80s, and they've got new evidence on it. And you just think, I wonder how the family of those people are feeling. And, you know, I want to bring closure to cases, and I think that's why I write.
Yeah, and I really appreciate what you say about having had that experience and understanding the need to, the need to see closure, to see justice done, that in the writing of your books, then, whilst it's fiction, it does provide the reader with that sense of, and I think we live in such, uneasy, troubled, difficult times, that if we can immerse ourselves in a story whereby the ending at least provides some relief, some, yes, good triumphed there. And so, I think we should never underestimate, the power of a good thriller, police procedural, when it comes full circle, and we just, I think there's a calming for us there.
Yeah, when we've got them. Gotcha.
Yeah,
you think you got away with it, well, you didn't. Yeah, exactly. And also, as an actor, obviously, using my emotions, which is a tool of my job, and probably the tool also of my books. That the fear when I was kidnapped, I have, you will never really get over that, but I use that as an actor, and I use it as an author. I know the fear, so I think that's why I write dark crime.
It makes a lot of sense. Having not talked to you before before reading, and what you're saying makes sense now with books. And yeah. So now, tell me about DCI Banham. Yeah,
Paul Banham.
Yeah.
He's my DCI, and he has a bit of, that's what I also believe, that you've got to have a bit of lightheartedness in every book. In every situation, one has to have a laugh. And of course, they have the on-off relationship. I mean, all my books you can read as standalones, but they are, they're the police in all of them, a bit like Morse or Wexford or something. So they have an on-off relationship. And they, obviously have disagreements. They're living together at the moment. They're having disagreements about certain things. He's a gentle, nice man. He doesn't mean to be tactless. He's a bit tactless with Alison, his DI. He's the DCI. So he's always putting his foot in it and annoying her. But they get through, and she's strong. She's a strong woman. We don't want a weak woman, do we? We like strong women. So she holds her own. She holds her own.
Yeah. I whilst there is that dynamic between them, where a little bit of tension, a little bit, but I felt that it was very much, the balance there. That he's not in any way, shape, or form keeping her down or anything like that.
Have that. No, she won't have that. She's a woman. She's he's just a man. She's going to get there. She'll get what she wants. I'm eating a biscuit.
Good woman. That's it. Get those calories in, because we've got so much to discuss. So I may join you at some point and do the same.
Me too. I'd like to hand you one of these through the. Oh, I've just dropped it in my tea. Never mind, my tea.
Never mind. What a shame we can't share a biscuit. That would be lovely. The story, though, we have our, there's a police team, and I'd like to talk about the team, but those main protagonists, and so again, the professional and the private that's mixed between them, which is a lovely strand of your storytelling. It's great. But what is the premise? What is the burning question?
Well, it's a story of women that have, unfortunately, the victims of arson attacks. The reason I suppose I wanted to address arson, because I was reading how up fires are certainly around South London, where I set my books and where I live. It's very much on the up, and people are, that's happening a lot. People are setting fire to people in their houses. And I just wanted to, I felt strongly I wanted to write a book about that.
So in the research that you've been doing and the reading around that, what conclusions are being drawn as to why there is this increase in this kind of crime and violence?
I've no idea. Nobody has any idea. I guess it's just another way of thinking you can get away with it. Because in the times that we live with so much surveillance, DNA, all that kind of thing, if fire can eradicate, then maybe, although still... We have 5 forensic officers who go in after a fire and they can find that it wasn't started by accident. They can find how and where it was started. So lo and behold, that we're moving very fast forward on that. Again,
the technology around that is phenomenal. You say, of course, that it's women that are sadly the victims of this crime. Some people have difficulty with that sense of, portraying the woman as victim, and that we need to maybe move away from that. Obviously for you it's not a problem. Can you address that thing as to why some people, why it's not for you, why you think I had to go along these lines with this story?
Well, certainly women, there's a lot more women victims than men currently, and I'm very sad to say that. I'm a great one for women's rights and for everything, but the fact of the matter is, especially in London, we've got a thing about how can we stay safe, how can women stay safe on the streets. We've had some terrible times with women being killed, murdered outright, whatever we say and however we do, women are much more so the victim than men. And I follow that. This is a story of mistakes women made in their past, and how it's come back to haunt them. But it works as women, and because women are they are there, and they are the vulnerability of it.
I as I say, for me, this read had so much to say about how things are, and it left me with much to ponder. Of course, what we discover, and I think it's okay to say this because I think it's out there in the publicity around the novel. Of course, these victims he discovered are working in prostitution.
Have been. Yep.
And again, one of those issues that, if we think about, prime suspect, and we can say, oh, but it's been done. And yet these issues need still to be addressed, do they not?
Yes, and of course it's been done because it's so rife. The percentage is so high.
Yes.
So it's been done. But what can I say? Pantomimes have been done to death, and they're all different. But we all come to them from a different direction. So let's tell the story this way.
Exactly. Exactly. And again, giving voice to the voiceless, or giving voice to those who are deemed, not worthy of being listened to. And I think that is so important, that people, regardless, who fall foul for whatever reason of situations like this, there needs to be the narrative that you provided that says enough, or no, I will listen, I will work out what has happened, I will bring justice into these situations.
I'll just throw into the works there. When I was writing, I wrote a few books on gang crimes, girl gang crimes. I'm very much drawn towards women victims, but these were girl gangs. But I went round different places and I talked to some street girls on corners. My name's Linda Regan. And I looked at them and I talked to them. They were gentle. They had sad eyes and they had sad stories. Why, the reason they've come to this, don't judge them because they're on the streets. Don't judge them. Some of them, have grown up with absolutely not having eaten for 10 days. There is a vulnerability there. So, I wanted to get to the core of that, which is why I wrote this book about girl gangs and how they've survived by being a band together and how they find their strength.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. As often happens on the channel, I'm so grateful because what it does for me, it gives me a chance to meet with authors who otherwise it probably would be difficult to do. Publishers and publicists suggest people, and Linda, I have to confess, I had not read your work before, but what a gem, it's like these issues that you deal with really resonate. So I'll be working my way through the stuff that I've missed, but I'm glad that the burning question has brought me into that. Like I say, I'm very grateful to your publicist for setting up this conversation.
Oh, thank you so much.
South London, of all the areas in all the world, I know you live there, so that is, that's always helpful to be in that location. But why, as readers and readers both, in the UK and then worldwide, how do you want to portray that area? Why is it important to you, and how do you feel you put it across?
Well, I was born in South London as well. I live here now. I was born in Brixton, and the changes is enormous change. We know with gun and knives and crime, and that is so on the up around South London. We brought in the Trident police around there to help with gun crime, etc. So that's how busy that is. And I want to tell it as it is. I tell things as they are. As I said, I wrote about Arson because Arson's on the up. I write about what's happening on our streets, and everything in my books is happening. Obviously not the people. The story is fictional, but this is what's happening on our streets. Young teenagers are being killed every day, which is why I wrote the gang crime books. This is what's happening, and for people that don't know, please, I want you to know. I want you to know how tough it's been for the girl gangs, how they became girl gangs to survive. I want these stories told. I care about South London, of course I do. It's my home, but I want people to know what's going on within it, crime-wise, because I'm a crime writer.
Yeah, and I think very often those of us who live outside that magical metropolis, it's very easy, we have that generic London, and yet, every borough is a world in itself, and so so the contrast between north and south of the river and what that means, and again, just to enjoy walking some pretty mean streets, but yeah, so thank you for that. Thank you. Now I have to ask you, we'll come back to the storyline, but I have a favorite character because I think I identify with her massively, and it's dear Stephanie Green.
Oh, I love her.
Yeah. Who is fond of having a nibble now and again, and who sadly it often ends up, and anybody who knows me will know that invariably happens. There's usually some spaghetti sauce or you know, did you create this? Did you create, Stephanie, around somebody who you might know?
Myself.
Okay, yeah.
I mean,
So not Alison. It's not Alison, but rather Stephanie that you might identify with.
Oh, Stephanie, I eat all the time when I'm writing.
Yeah.
I eat all the time. I can't eat at all when I'm in the theatre. I you know, I get all, and I can't eat. But now that I've become a writer, I eat all the time. My husband always gets food all over him, and so I've sort of, the two came together in that way. But when I'm thinking, I eat, and then when I finish the show, if I'm working in the theatre or at 11 o'clock at night, you'll find me eating till 1:30 in the morning. You know, just
afterwards all the energy that's been used
coming down, whatever there is there, I mean, will be shoveled in my face. So she's a very good detective, but she works through the way she eats. She likes her food. Good. I love mine.
Yeah. And how do you think the dynamic of, because this is what I always love about a police procedural, that aspect of a team working together or not, if there's any issues or difficulties. Tell us about this team and what you are proud of about this team. And if you had to sit down and have a word with them about maybe, you know, that they need to get their act together on certain things, what would it be?
Well, Arson, the DI, who's normally SIO, which is forgotten the so the officer in charge, and I forgot the term for it, but anyway, never mind. So she's sort of a bit like a mother hen. She gets on very well with Stephanie, and she knows she eats all the time. She gets that completely, because Alison's a little the other way. Alison doesn't eat. But Colin Crowther is the womanizer, and Alison, because Alison is a very strong woman, and so she gets very cross at his chauvinism. He's always trying to get his leg across, and the new detective comes in, and, you know, she says, now look, just behave yourself, because just, you know, keep it in your trousers, because this girl's got great potential. So if there's anything going on, it would be Alison keeping her eye on DC Colin Crowther.
Yeah.
But he's a brilliant detective, and she would not have him on her team. He's always, and also he saves Alison. He's always saving Alison from situations and giving her advice about Banham.
I really, again, I appreciated the fact that these were, you know, they're not perfect people. They're great. They're great coppers, great investigators, but, you know,
flawed.
Yeah. And but the other thing I thought as well was, you know, not necessarily the stereotypical flaws that you know we've grown accustomed to. It just seemed like a very, to me, it's like reading this book was like lifting the lid off a police station somewhere and being able to peer in and watch people, you know, working together, reacting. That, you know, it's a great sense of, yes, it's fiction, but very, very credible what was happening. So at the heart of this book, I do believe the question is, the moral dilemma is whether you reveal something you know from a previous life or whether you don't.
Yeah.
And what that might mean. So just coming away from the book a minute, because again, we want people to read and know what all that means. In life, Linda, do you think it's best sometimes to let things, you know, sleeping dogs lie, as it were, no point in raking things up? Or do you think it's important to be very upfront and just be totally honest about things?
I've made so many mistakes in my life. I really have. I'm not sure I think people make mistakes, how we learn and we go along. I'll always admit to them. I mean, when I was very young, I appeared nude in a couple of films, and I so wish I hadn't. So there's no point in denying it. It's happened. It's a mistake. I was 17 when I did a couple of those adventure films, Adventures of something or other, but you grow up and you just it's part of your past, and you're sorry you did it, but you can't take it back, so you may as well take it with you and use it. That's a good thing about writing, you can use it.
Yeah, definitely. That, okay, things might have happened, things might have not gone well, choices that now, but I do think that in this book, I think that moral dilemma, because of being in one world and then being in another world,
yeah,
it's a very stark that difference, and it's like, oh, what will they do? Or what will they not do? Now, you also do a thing with this book, and that is the sharing of the killer's thoughts. Lovely, lovely dynamic to the book, without revealing the identity, of course. Why was it important for you to reveal the machinations, as it were, of the perpetrator?
Because I wanted to sort of, I mean, without giving anything away, I wanted to sort of reveal a little bit about his personality. And I think probably at the end of the book, when you've read it, you know what's happened. If you go back, you could sort of a bit see his personality within it, I think.
Yeah. I think for me, yeah, that idea of it's not some unknown entity out there that is functioning this way, but you allow us in, and whether we like or not what we hear in going in those thoughts, it enables us maybe to understand things. So yeah. I have a number of questions that I normally ask authors, and the police procedural really lends itself to this. So let's see what your experience is as someone who's created, because of course you've created the D.I. Johnson.
The gang series.
The gang series, yeah. So we've got, okay. When you are, and when we were talking earlier, you said, you're not alone when you write, because these characters are there. But are you situated with them around you, or do you hover above, as it were, and you are, almost like the puppet master, just bringing back to your childhood with the Punch and Judy? How is it for you?
I'm all those people. I'm all those people.
Okay, all right.
And I'm playing all these parts.
All the parts, yeah. Yes.
I hasten to add, I don't think I have a criminal bone in my body, but because I'll go back to my kidnap, and and what happened there, I get that. I see what they're like, what he was like, and I bounce off that. I make different criminals, but I bounce off that.
I'm also fascinated by the fact that, of course, many authors that I interview are not actors, not in that profession. So for them, the writing process is different. But the fact that you say, I play all those roles. I'm in there, and I do it. And do you think you write as well? I'm thinking about the writing style. Do you visualize this on the screen, on the stage, as you write?
No,
Okay.
not at all. No, part of the story. The story is happening. If somebody wants to put it on stage or on screen, that's different. A lot of my reviews say my books are very filmic, but that's the actor in me seeing things from a film point of view. But no, I'm part of. I'm in that story. Yeah, and I'll feel the pain. I feel the victim's pain, and I want to kill them. The person I know has done it. Then I'm, I feel very angry towards them. Yeah.
Is writing, is it cathartic for you?
Yes, very much so. Yeah, the baddie gets caught.
Yeah, wonderful. Well, Linda, it has been an absolute delight to talk to you about The Burning Question.
It's such a delight to talk to you as well. Thank you.
Viewers, listeners, again, if police procedural is your bag, then, and you haven't yet delved into Linda's writing, why not treat yourself? And the team is amazing. The questions that Linda raises just give you things to think about and process and come away. But in the end, she's going to deliver on brought to rights, which is very satisfying. I know this book is just, it's recently out, and we probably shouldn't ask, but my last question is, what are you working on now?
Oh, I've just finished one featuring actresses.
Oh yeah. Which is it, a standalone or is it in one of the series?
It's a standalone.
Yes. Oh yes.
I'm very excited about it. I've really enjoyed writing it.
I can see that. Your eyes are sparkling, but they just went, oh, yeah, let me tell you, yeah.
I so enjoyed, taking myself back in time to how you were as a student, and, how full of yourself you were, all that, and, how time goes on and changes that happen. And I think it's slightly more psychological, I believe, my next one. I don't know what anybody think, and I have to wait for it to come out and see. I hope you'll let me come back and talk to you about it.
I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Does it have a working title? Are we allowed to know?
I'm keeping that quiet at the moment.
I love it. It will be a surprise. It's a mystery, and it will come out. Great. Linda, all the very best with The Burning Question. Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you very, very much.
An absolute pleasure, and hope to see you soon.
Yes, take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. God bless. Have a nice day.
Bye.
Bye.